Sabres lost a game that was a must-win. What should the consequences be? Coming up here in the Locked On Sabres podcast.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome in to this Thursday edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcast. You can watch the show on YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe us there. And if you want to become a part of our Locked On Sabres text club, you could do that by heading over to joinsubtext.com/Locked On Sabres. Sneaky Joe DiBiase following Sabres Flames. 6-2, the final in favor of Calgary. We'll get to all that happened in the game, what should come up of this game, what we heard in the locker room after this game. And I do want to spend a minute on the goalies a little bit later, because that's a very interesting topic day by day, I think. And Colten Ellis didn't do himself any favors last night against the Flames. So all that coming up here on today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast. And sad to say, I do not believe this is going to be the year that we are doing this show and we get to preview playoff games, talk about playoff games, playoff series. We have not done that yet as a show. We've been doing it since 2019, and it's not over. They are 4 points out of a playoff spot. That's one way of looking at it, but they are dead last by themselves in the Eastern Conference. They are 9 goals worse than any other team in the Eastern Conference in terms of goal differential on the season. And they found a way to lose to the worst team in the NHL after they had played the night before with their backup goaltender in the game. A guy that the Sabres traded away, by the way, for a 7th-round pick prospect who is light years from the NHL. That's just the insult to injury, I guess, in this one. Insult to the injury to the fans, really, who had to suffer through that game. A 6-2 final is a unmitigated disaster by this team. You cannot be a serious hockey team and lose that hockey game. It was a joke from really beginning to end. The Sabres got outplayed. They got run out in the first period. Calgary was the better team. They shot out to that 2-0 lead, and the Sabres got outworked early on. Calgary looked like they wanted it more. They amazingly had more energy. And sometimes you do see that from a team that does play the night before, which is, hey, a team could approach it as, we played the night before. We're not going to have energy for this entire game. So let's come out fast. Let's hit them hard. Let's build a lead. And then we'll sit on that lead. We'll play defense. We'll block shots. We'll conserve our energy. And we'll hold on to win a game that we build a lead early on. That's what I was thinking when Calgary took a 2-0 lead. And then, second period, Sabres start to fight back a little bit. Second period was very even when you look at all the numbers, but Sabres scored twice. They scored twice, and they got back to tie the game until we arrived at the end of the second period, and Calgary takes the lead again. So now I'm thinking, all right, third period is when the Flames didn't score at the end of the second. It was the beginning of the third. So you're going into the third period, and I'm thinking, this is where they run out of gas. Calgary. They run out of gas because they've played 5 periods in 24 hours. By the way, they didn't get to Buffalo until 2:30 in the morning. So it's not just they played the night before. They were coming from Chicago. They got in late. How much do they sleep? Whatever. You know, that's how it's the NHL, right? That's how it goes. But sometimes you do have to bake those things in and think about what's the team's energy level going to be because of their travel or what they, their schedule and what all that looks like. Everything made sense to think Sabres are going to get out and they're going to come back and win this game here in the third period. And then Calgary just steamrolled them. The Sabres looked embarrassing in the third period, I thought, for the caliber of opponent that they were playing and all of those circumstances and context that goes in with what the Flames were dealing with going into that game. 4 goals in the third period by Calgary. How can you possibly let that happen? And some of these were just dumb effort goals where Dahlin's trying to get a puck out and they're not able to do it, and Calgary comes in and they keep the play alive. They fight. It's not, the Sabres have the puck the whole time and counterattack is what does them in. If that had been the case, then, I wouldn't really blame the effort. It would just be circumstances, and that's kind of how it went. But this third period, I thought Calgary had the better of the possession, the better of the chances. They had the Sabres running around a lot in their own end. They were winning battles in front of Colten Ellis. That was how the Morgan Frost goal, or that was the second goal of the third period, actually. The Michael Backlund goal was one where they're just out fighting the Sabres in front of the net. And that is just what this team has showed you they're capable of all along. It's why I was confident they would win last night, but by no means was it a guarantee, because this is a lot of Sabre fans made the joke going into yesterday. This is the type of game they lose. The game that they're supposed to win, this is the game they lose. And man, did they. 6-2 was the final. Your only positive moments, I guess, were the couple of goals in the second period. Mattias Samuelsson continues to score goals, and that's really weird and amazing. 4 on the year. He's already matched his career high for a season. And that was just a nice, he walked in, picked up a turnover from the boards. He took a little bit of space, and then he just wired it past Devin Cooley. So it was a nice goal by Samuelsson, and well earned there. The Thompson goal ends up kind of being a knuckle puck shot. He rips a slap shot one-timer from the point. And if you watch, the Sabres actually tweeted out a angle of the Thompson goal from behind. And the puck would have been a little bit on edge when he hit it, because you see the puck moving up to down, almost like a curveball, as it falls through the air. And it wasn't just spinning. It was like rolling, basically. So weird puck, weird movement, but Thompson got a hold of it. A lot of steam on that. By the way, another point from Samuelsson in that one. And again, man, you're tied 2-2. They played the night before. I was really liking their chances going into the third period. And to allow that first goal 2 minutes in by Morgan Frost, it's a 3-on-2 coming down, and you're in pretty decent position. McLeod actually came back to contest Jonathan Huberdeau, and then just coverage breakdown between Owen Power and Isak Rosen, where Power and Rosen take the same guy, and by the time Rosen recognizes that he's on the wrong person, he can't make up for it. He was supposed to be covering Frost there. And listen, that's what you get with a young player, I guess, sometimes. Right, I guess that's all there needs to be said about it, right? That's just what you get sometimes. The Backlund goal in the third period, again, that's just Byram and Timmins are out there and nobody's watching the puck, or nobody's watching their men. They're both staring at the puck, and it hits Byram. And sure enough, when it falls to the ground, you got 2 Flames that you're standing there, but they're not marked. You're not tying them up. They've got free reign to whack at the puck wherever it falls. And it fell to one of them, and Backlund was able to put it home. So then you're down 2, and then you're halfway through. They'd started to manage a couple of chances, and they just weren't able to close on it. So it's like, all right, the game's not officially over, but it is a dire situation. You're down 2, and you're going into it. So, okay, let's see. Let's see if you're able to score here. And then you have the turnover by, I want to make sure I get it right here. It was the turnover. It was by Tage. Tage loses a battle to Nazem Kadri and Rasmus Anderson in the offensive zone. And then it's just a lob pass Hail Mary. And at the scene of the crime again, there's Byram and Timmins. They're not far enough back. They don't see the play. They're kind of caught staring. Byram mostly. Timmins was coming from a little bit further away. And then Colten Ellis gets beat on the blocker side, and it's game over, basically, at that point. You get an empty netter after that, and the Flames are able to win it. The last one was not an empty netter. It was just a late goal by Matt Coronado, but the game is over at that point. What a joke. What a flat-out joke that they lost that game to Calgary. 7-9-4. And listen, if this was a real NHL team, and I know I say that a lot, that like this is not a real NHL team. It's days like today as to why I say that. When you get embarrassed like that, when you lose to that team in that situation, and you are already in last place in the Eastern Conference, and you are already on a 14-year playoff. Don't even think of the drought. You already have gone 6 years with this general manager, with this regime, and you don't act. You continue to not act. And the same guy continues to run the show day in and day out, game in and game out like that. That's why they get treated as not a real team, because almost every other team in the league, I want to say pretty much every other one, in those circumstances would fire a guy. They would make significant, they'd be ready. They would be finger on the button going into this year, knowing where you are, knowing that this is year 6 of a plan with a general manager, and that you have not had the success, and that you're going backwards. It's not like you're progressing towards making the playoffs. You were close, and every day, every month, every week that passes, it feels like you're getting further and further away. When you are in that spot, your finger should always be on the button, ready to make the big change, to try to get the team back in the right direction, because you care about it. If you care about the team that much, that is something that you'd be ready to do. But it's tough for me to believe that Terry Pegula's finger is on the button, ready to hit it, ready to get Kevyn Adams out of there. I guess I'll believe it when I see it. Today would have been a day. Maybe they're waiting for after the Bills game. I don't know. Today would have been a good day to do it. And there have been a lot of good days to do it, but this is one of them. This is absolutely one of them. And it is 4:00 on Thursday at this point while I'm recording. And this minute, nothing has happened. And we'll continue to watch as they probably don't do anything, and they probably continue to play these games, and we'll hear them talk about after how they got to be better and how, they didn't want it as much as the other team. And listen, the players, I want to talk a little bit about leadership coming back, something that Mattias Samuelsson said yesterday, holding players accountable. I want to throw out there and get in front of it that I believe in hockey. And trust me, well practiced at this. I've been watching a lot of Sabre press conferences over the years in the playoff drought. When you're playing 82 games a year and you lose 50 of them, 45 to 50 of them, year in and year out, and you continue to be at the bottom of the standings, there are only so many things players can say. They're not, also one of the things they're not going to say is we're not talented enough. That's never going to be the answer. Every team, every player is always going to believe, or at least they're always going to say, we're talented enough. We just didn't want it enough. There's only so many things they can use as an excuse. So when we talk about things that were said in the locker room, I think they're just trying to make stuff up on the fly a lot of times because, again, it's only so much. When we come back, though, the thing that Samuelsson said yesterday and where this team is at in terms of leadership and accountability and all of it, coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by Rugiet. Rugiet, let's be real, making excuses does not solve anything. We've heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everybody sometimes when it comes to performance. Sometimes your body just needs a little bit of extra support. That's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private. It's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. It's Rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL. Don't forget to use the code LockedOnNHL so they know that we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. All right, back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Just gonna sit back and relax here a little bit. I want to rant about this team, and I'm sure I will. Again, maybe you would even qualify that first segment as a rant. There's only so much energy you can give on this team like that, right? Like, you don't want to be mad every day. It's why a lot of fans check out on this team, right? Like, my brother is one of these guys. He's a huge sports fan, huge football fan. He does the Locked On Eagles podcast, and, he was a Sabre fan growing up, and he got really into them when they were good. And even the season with Granato, where they missed by 1 point, he got back in, checked back in, all right, I've just been wanting to feel something good. And then he hung around for a little bit with them and then quickly realized, this is going to be like it's been for the last 10 years. So, yeah, I'm going to go over here and you call me when they're good again. That's a lot of fans. I appreciate all our listeners and all of our Sabre fans here that watch the show too that are not that way, that are diehard, all in, all the time, because it's hard. It's hard to be a fan of this team. It is. It's constant stress and negativity and being mad. And, listen, if there's one thing I know from the Bills and making it through that playoff drought, when you get to the other side, it is like a badge of honor. It is, I made it through that, and I stuck with it the whole time. And we're going to need a big badge for this team when they finally make it, whether it's next year, whether it's amazingly this year, or whether it's in 7 years. I don't know. Whenever that happens, we need a big badge for everybody. I made it through the drought. Maybe we'll make them. We'll make some I made it through the drought badges at some point. Last place, 18 points. And four points out of a playoff spot is the one part of looking at the standings. It's that's actually not that bad. But it's just everybody. You got to climb over everybody. So 4 points, suddenly looks a lot of a taller task when there's 7 teams in front of you between you and the playoffs. So, by the way, before we get to the locker room stuff and the leadership stuff that I wanted to get to, a couple of roster things. Mason Geertsen was waived by the Sabres. Long time coming. It's amazing to me he was on the team in the first place, but he hadn't played recently. I think he was more on the roster for the veteran leadership stuff, energy, coaching staff seemed to like him. But his days of helping this team, well, really, they were never going to get started, but they were well over. He wasn't a part of the rotation at all in recent days and weeks. So he goes on to Rochester, and assuming he doesn't get claimed, so I'd be stunned if he did. So that experiment is over with Mason Geertsen, which means Jason Zucker, by the way, is probably coming back for tomorrow night's game, as was kind of hinted at. So last night, Mattias Samuelsson made a bit of a jarring comment. He has been wearing a letter for years now, Samuelsson has. And that's been mocked, and I've been one to do that because this was kind of the deal when Josh Georges was on the team and he wore an A. It's, how can you really be a leader when you're never pulling your own weight? How much does Okposo, this was the case as well. How strong can your message be if you're not one of the team's top players? And for many years, I thought that about Samuelsson. This year, though, when he makes a comment and I see him wearing a letter, I think, he actually is one of their leaders right now. He's carrying his own weight. He is scoring goals, which is amazing. He's putting up points. He is scoring in overtime. He's playing very well defensively. He's staying healthy. I could not have imagined it'd be going better for Mattias Samuelsson right now. Another reason why it's incredible that they've been so bad, because if I told you before the season, hey, Samuelsson's going to be one of the best defensive defensemen in the sport through a month of the season, which I don't think is overstating it. I think he has been that. If I told you that, you'd be like, that team's in first place. No, they're in last place. He said last night, maybe maybe too many guys are passengers. Maybe too many guys are passengers is what Samuelsson said about the team. And heard some similar comments from Thompson, Dahlin. They've been fiery. If that, though, is their leadership group right now, and I wonder who they're talking about. I thought about maybe it's Power, because Power is often a very casual player that is not very aggressive. And I wonder if his teammates sometimes get frustrated as much as fans get frustrated by that because they know he's such a good player and how impactful he is. But there's a little bit of fire that's missing. And I wonder if players get frustrated by that. Like, just if you had a little more fire, then you'd be one of the most dominant players maybe in the league. And maybe he gets that at some point. I don't know. But when Samuelsson says too many passengers, I wonder what that locker room is really like. Because are guys holding each other accountable? The one thing this team has not had that I said before the year that I really think would be good for them, the perfect type of player. Because I'm not saying Dahlin's a bad captain or that Dahlin tries. I think Dahlin tries to be the guy, to be the leader. But can he be a you-know-what hole? The type of leader that Draymond Green is for the Golden State Warriors, the type of leader that Stephon Diggs was for the Bills for a time, the type of leader that Jimmy Butler is in the NBA, like these psycho, angry, I'm going to, cuss you out in the locker room, and it's going to be embarrassing for you when I call you out, but I am a leader, I'm a good player, and I have the right because I'm holding us to the standard. Nathan MacKinnon is maybe a good example of this. Nathan MacKinnon could be a jerk. It sounds like he could be a jerk, but it's good for that team. It's good for that locker room to have a guy, especially your best player, be that way because it takes everybody with him. And again, I'm not saying that Dahlin's a bad leader. I just don't get the feeling that he's quite like that. Chris Drury is always the name that comes to mind for me. They need a Chris Drury. Drury was that guy when he showed up, and he demanded that everybody work as hard as he did, would be as professional as he was, and take it as seriously as he did. And that guy has not, they've tried to manufacture it on this team with third and fourth liners and bottom pair defensemen, guys way past the hill, over their, past their primes. The Drury type. That move is hard to make, very rarely is made, but I don't feel like they have it. And when I hear the leaders try to get that message across, I just don't really know if it's falling on deaf ears or what. Lindy, by the way, is role in this. Lindy can only do so much, but when Kevyn Adams went to the podium a couple years ago after firing Don Granato, he said, I know what this team needs. He said, he made it clear. They need a veteran coach. They need a guy that'll hold the players' feet to the fire, hold everybody accountable, be hard on them. And they got Lindy. They maybe tried to get Craig Berube, couldn't get him. They got Lindy. I think Lindy has tried to do it, and he has to some degree. But the results are not really coming. And then maybe you go to, well, maybe it's a group problem. I'm not saying a leader problem. I'm not saying it's a Dahlin problem or it's even a Tage problem. Like, I think you give those guys the right type of teammate, right type of leader around them, and I think you're good. It's not their fault, but just doesn't feel like it's working right now. And I am questioning who is the person that demands the best out of everybody in that locker room, because they might need a guy like that, but they need a guy like that that's good. I don't want to do it for a 36-year-old player who's going to play 12 minutes a night. He's got to be a great player. And again, that's really tough to get. All right, when we come back, quick word on where we're at now after Colten Ellis had a really bad start. That coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Sneaky Joe DiBiase here. We are presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Didn't get the win last night. That was the other part of it. Got let down there. But we'll have some more betting previews for you coming up soon. And it's not just the NHL that's back in Buffalo. It's the NBA, and it is football, college football. There's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game more exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, final segment, last call here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. The Sabres are next in action tomorrow night. They will be hosting Chicago, and then they will be playing Carolina on Sunday. So No back-to-backs on the way. They don't play again until Wednesday, by the way, after Sunday. So Friday, Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So next weekend, you get to your next back-to-back. Ellis played 3 starts in a row and 4 of the last 5. It had gone fairly well in the first 3. Last night, he allows 6. And that was 3.24 goals above expectation. I don't think every goal was his fault. I don't even really think any goal was directly on him, but he was definitely in some spots where I would have liked some saves. So, does Lindy Ruff agree with that? He might. I think it's time to get another guy in. The question is who? Lindy implied that it'll be Alex Lyon tomorrow. So, Lyon, who is not, he's not really played a lot as of late. He played a ton at the beginning of the season. He has not played a lot as of late. Lyon's going to get in next. And I think you probably keep doing this is a thing that I said weeks ago that they should do, and they've kind of done it, which is you put a guy in, you play him till he has a bad start, and then you switch. You play that guy till he's a bad start, then you switch. They kind of did that with Ellis. He had a bad start, so now you switch. Lyon goes in. I think you play Lyon every game that looks good. And eventually, Luukkonen gets back in. There is a story on Luukkonen. Elliot Friedman had this in his 32 Thoughts this morning, that Luukkonen might be upset right now because not only is he not starting for this team like he wants to and like he's paid to do, Luukkonen apparently is upset that he's not getting enough starts because he thinks it's costing him a spot on the Finnish Olympic team. And when I saw that, I want to say this. I think I kind of understand it, and at the same time, it's, dude, the understanding of it is he was injured at the beginning of the year. They added a third goalie. They tried to add Georgiev. I remember even before that. They added a third goalie, and now he's stuck in this triple threat rotation, and he's not getting enough games. And Finland, I don't think the starting job is available. It'll probably be UC Saros, but job on the team, Kevin Lankinen's a guy you'd be competing with. He's definitely got that in the window. And maybe if he had an amazing run, he could take the starting job, but I think that's probably unlikely. At the same time, the eye roll that I want to have is Luukkonen, if you wanted to be on the Finnish team, you wanted to be getting enough starts for it, you would have played better in the first 4 games. You had control over that. He has played 4 games so far this year. He started only 3. And hey, if you don't cost the team a point against Toronto, you probably get another start pretty quickly after that. If you don't allow, the 875 save percentage he had against the Blues where they lost 3-0. If you had stopped one more in that game, maybe you would have got another opportunity and you would have kept playing. I think a lot of it is under his own control. And the Toronto game is definitely number 1 for this, but injuries too. He's done this to himself in a way. And I don't think he's owed anything. They paid him, and it's kind of incredible that he's even been given as many opportunities as he has to this point. So I don't feel bad for him at all. Starting 106 games in the last 2 years was totally unjustified, given his track record in the AHL and the beginnings in the NHL. But he got it. So way ahead, I think. He didn't get all that by merit. He might have worked hard, but he didn't perform. So I don't feel bad. I don't lose sleep at all thinking about what he is going to miss out on because he's not getting starts now. This has been a long time coming. I think that they started treating him like a guy that shouldn't be their number 1 goaltender. All right. Tomorrow against Chicago. Maybe we'll get better things against the Blackhawks. That tomorrow. If you want more hockey talk, non-Sabre related, I'm sure, you can head over to NHL Locked On NHL Game Night. That's available wherever you listen to your podcast. We will talk to you tomorrow on a game day. Enjoy the Bills tonight, and we'll talk to them here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.